Hello and thanks for joining me. Well, several of you have requested a video on lathe basics, and I'm going to keep it fairly basic. I've got some old lathes here, so they're going to look a lot different than what you might have. But the same functions apply to all manual lathes. We're going to cover speeds, feeds, gearing, quick change gearbox, and carriage. So let's get started. Okay, we're looking at my 1931 South Bend 11, and this is the way the drive works. And a lot of lathes are very similar. Most of them have like a 2-speed pulley right here. Let me show you on my Logan. The Logan has, can't see it very well, but there's a pulley back here too, and the upper pulley is also 2-speed. Got a lower flange there for the belt and then an upper one. So you got two different speed ranges on the back pulley. Okay, on these older lathes you got what's called a cone pulley, and it's a 3-step pulley right here. It's driven by the motor pulley. This is on my South Bend, but we've got the same thing on my Logan right here. This 3-step pulley, 1, 2, 3. And from that back step pulley goes to the spindle pulley right here. And I may not be getting all the names exactly right, but this is the spindle cone pulley right here. So to change speeds, if I want to go to a different speed, that changes the speed. That would be faster. Logan works the same way. Now, some lathes have a variable speed pulley, some have a variable speed motor, some have V-belts. So your lathe may not have a cone pulley, but it will have some means to change the speed. Okay, another speed control they have is a back gear. And I'm pretty sure all lathes have them. There may be some without it. And it's kind of confusing to describe. I'll do my best. Basically, there's a gear right here, on this lathe anyway, that disengages. So I disengaged it. Now my chuck is freewheeling. Can you see the chuck? My chuck is spinning free without the cone pulley. And then you've got a gear that engages right here. And that gear meshes with this gear and another gear right here. Now, you can see the cone pulley is going much faster than the chuck. Okay, my Logan is basically the same. Here's without the back gear. But the back gear is less, excuse me, less visible on this lathe. This is the back gear. Throw it in right there. I have to disengage. And you can see the disengagement on this back gear a little better. See that pin right there? It just retracted from that gear. So now the chuck is freewheeling. Now when I engage the back gear, you can see what happens. It engages with this gear and it gears it down. So now I can't run this one open because this cover tightens the belt, but watch the chuck speed. It's geared down. Okay, now I'm back out of back gear. Now lathes, most lathes have some means to control this lead screw speed, which moves your carriage. Now I got a clutch here. You can see my carriage start to move. This controls the speed of the carriage via that lead screw. Now some lathes don't have the quick change gearbox. This one does. Some have manual gears that you got to change the speeds. But let me show you how this works inside. Okay, you can see kind of what it's doing there. This right there is your goes into your quick change gearbox. Now some lathes have a variety of different gears you can change right there to control your lead screw speed. This one does it with a gearbox, thankfully. It's a little more convenient. This right here is like a shifter. There you go. Changes speeds. Now watch what happens right here. Watch the speed of this thing. Going really fast. I pull that out, going slow. That's basically a 2-speed transmission, if you want to call it that. This right here is a reverse. Most lathes work like that. This goes up like that. See the direction of travel there? If you go the other way, it's going that way. That changes your direction of feed. On the Logan, I got the same thing. There's your reverse lever. Sometimes you got to move things to get the gears to engage. It does not have the 2-speed lever on it. These 2 gears, you have to swap them out. Most often the way it's set up right there is all you need, but it has the option for a much faster feed rate if you swap those gears. But that's something you don't have to do very often, thankfully. Okay, let's get into some more confusing stuff here. And this is kind of hard to see. I restored it. Like I said, this is a 1931 lathe, and it was in really bad shape when I got it. This was very abused right here, and I've refinished it the best I could. But it looks complicated, but it really isn't. All these numbers are in threads per inch. Now, if you've got a metric lathe, it'll be in thread pitch, but these are all threads per inch. So if I wanted to cut some threads, say I wanted to cut 8 threads per inch, this pulls out and I move the lever to this column. That 8's right there, so I want to be in this column. If I wanted to thread 22 threads per inch, I'd be in this column. Sometimes you got to move the lathe to get that to engage. Let's go for 16 threads per inch, or 8 threads. You can see that better probably. There's 8 threads per inch on this lathe. Now different lathes are different, but put the lever in that column right there under 8, and this is to the right. This is like a 3-speed transmission right here. Now it's to the left now, but to get it to go to the right, I got to turn it on for a sec. And now it's to the right. It's got a center position too, left, center, and right, but it's in the right position now. And this in and out refers to this 2-speed transmission we covered on the drive, and it's in the out position now. And if I'm doing 8 threads per inch, I want to go to the in position. That's in right there, and that will be at full speed. That you'll hear the gears. That lead screw is moving pretty fast. Of course, when you're cutting 8 threads per inch, you are running the lathe much slower. Okay, we're looking at my Logan here, which is probably a more standard method of doing it. It's got 2 levers instead of the 3-speed lever on top. And with these two combinations and the gear change we talked about earlier, you can get all these different thread rates. Notice right here, it says 48, 24, 48, 24. That 48 and 24 are referring to those gears we looked at earlier that I would swap around. That's what I was saying. Most of the time that 24 gear is all you need. This is an extreme feed rate right here, extremely fast, which you almost never use. So basically you don't have to change any gears underneath here most of the time. You can do all your functions with the gears that are in there. So let's say I want to thread 16 threads per inch. That's gear 24, which is what we're using. B, put this on B. Which is right there. And you go down, follow this column down, and that's where the lever needs to be. Right there. So we're in the right column with this lever, and we're in the B slot here. We're set up for 16 threads per inch. Okay, you'll notice there's some other numbers here. These are longitudinal feed rates, talking about your carriage. These are what you would use for cutting. Up here are all for threading. These are for cutting. And that has to do with how you engage your carriage. Not all lathes have this function, but most do. So without moving anything, if I engage the carriage for cutting, I'm in this column, and I'm in the A position on my left lever here, or no, the B position. So you look at B, in this column I'm feeding 25 thousandths per revolution of the chuck. So the carriage is moving 25 thousandths, 0.025, 25 thousandths of an inch for every chuck revolution. Okay, right here you're looking at the carriage. It moves along the bed of the lathe, and the speed that it moves is controlled by everything we just covered. Okay, let's discuss the functions on here. This right here is the 3 position. It's got a down position, a middle position, and an upper position. The upper position, now every lathe is going to be different, and I'll show you the Logan here in a minute. This is in position to use this clutch to control the feed rate. I'll show you what I mean. When I tighten that, it engages the clutch and moves the carriage. Okay, in the middle position, it's kind of an awkward adjustment on this south bend. In the middle position, you're controlling the half nut. And the reason they call it a half nut is because it's like 2 half nuts that go squeezed together on the lead screw. Now that's what you use for threading, and I'm not going to get into threading right now, but notice how fast it moves. Now that's what you would use if you were cutting threads. Okay, this bottom position controls the cross slide. Still moving. Now I can use my reverse lever and change the direction of either one of these feeds. Now I'm moving in. Because normally you would not have it feeding that fast. I just got it set up for a fast speed so that you can see it moving easily. So let's move on to the Logan and look at the controls on the Logan. Okay, the Logan in some ways is a little easier. This right here is the 3-position switch you saw in the South Bend. 3-position control. That's the half nut. That controls the cross slide, and this upper one is the carriage. If I can get it in there. That's the carriage. Right now I got it in the upper position, so when I tighten this clutch, carriage starts to move. If I put it in the lower position, the cross slide will start to move. I put it in the center position, this clutch does nothing. You can see it turning, but it's not moving anything. That's when the half nut is engageable. That's for threading. Now, if I'm in one of these other positions, and the South Bend is the same way, I can't engage that. So they're pretty basic controls. You can't use the half nut. The center position is for the half nut. All lathes will have these same controls in various different formats. One thing I will say, on some of your older lathes they don't have a clutch. All they got is a half nut. So it kind of simplifies things, but they don't have the extreme range of feed rates. In other words, the speed range for the half nut, watch how fast it moves. See there? But if I'm moving the carriage with the clutch, it's way slower. So the advantage to having the clutch, well, there's 2 advantages really. The clutch will slip if you mess up and crash your tool into the chuck, which is not a good idea, but the clutch will slip. The half nut does not. You'll break something if you're using the half nut. So it's an advantage to have the clutch, but it's not absolutely necessary. My Logan 200, which was a without the quick change gearbox, all it had was the half nut. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. I thought it would be at least a 2-part video, but it went pretty fast. Hopefully not too fast. But I'll probably do another video on feed rates and how they affect what you're turning. But that's it for today, and thanks for joining me, and be sure and subscribe.